This is Fox 8 Overtime, sponsored by the 2018 Nissan Titan, backed by America's best limited truck warranty.
It's Tuesday, which means it's time for Fox 8 Overtime once again. We've got the entire game back together for once. Chris Hagan, Garland Gillen, and we have a new employee, Sean Vazan.
The band is back together, guys.
Back together again.
Back together
We're not a band. We're a band. All right, coming down earlier tonight, LSU third in the first college football playoff poll. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's right where it was supposed to be. They've beaten 4 top 25 teams so far this season. Only loss was to Florida, who was also in the top 25.
Yeah, I think at this point, their resume says what they are. They're number 3 in the country. We'll see if that stands.
Resume, resume, resume. But this guarantees you nothing, but I think they're getting the proper respect right now.
I think you're right. Beat Alabama, and boy, they climb even further. Let's get you right to the big board right now. A lot to get to tonight, including a big football weekend to come. Saints-Rams, NFC supremacy at stake. LSU-Bama, can Ed Orgeron outcoach Nick Saban? Does he need to for the Tigers to win on Saturday? And the Pelicans have gone adrift without Anthony Davis, of course, dealing with his injuries right now. Going to begin, though, with a massive football weekend in Southeast Louisiana. A couple of main courses, Tigers and Tide, Saints and Rams. All eyes coast to coast will be on Southeast Louisiana this weekend. It's a great time to be a football fan here.
It reminds me of the 2011 season, the best season I've ever witnessed as a local football fan with the Saints and LSU. I can only imagine what Baton Rouge is going to be like. For Georgia, it was unbelievable. The Saints are rolling right now. So good vibes, good football, good time to be a football fan in Southeast Louisiana. This weekend is one of those weekends you kind of dream of as a sportscaster, right, guys? I mean, this is something that we don't get too often, so it really is a fun week up ahead.
Yeah, and I think the exciting part is that the Saints, we expected to be here, right? Maybe not necessarily this record, maybe 1 or 2 losses, but still you expected them to be in contention for the NFC. But LSU, it's just like a bonus because, I mean, they won't say it, but no one expected LSU to be here right now. And so for them to be the number 3 team in the country, getting ready to take on Alabama, and despite the fact they're double-digit dogs, they still got a shot in this game, a lot of people think. I think this is LSU living the dream right now, especially for the outlook that this season held at the beginning of the year.
I'm going to do y'all one better. I'm actually excited for the next 4 days because on Thursday night, Warren Easton plays Edna Carr for their district title, and then Terrebonne goes and visits Deschamps for another district title. So I am ready to roll. This is going to be a ton of football the next 4 days starting on Thursday. It's going to be a fantastic weekend.
It's definitely the best time of the year with, again, the high school games. We'll talk about that later on. But, I mean, LSU, you're right, Chris. No one could have predicted they'd be in this position. Only 1 loss after, what, 8 games? I mean, 7 games? 8 games. And so they're doing way above the expectations. Alabama is what we all thought they would be. LSU hasn't beaten them since 2011. We know how it happened that year. Of course, they went in Tuscaloosa, a field goal battle. They come back and lose the national championship game. But, man, this is going to be a fantastic weekend to watch football. On the pro side of things, we want to show you the NFC playoff standings right now because it's as tight as it can get at the top. LA Rams 6-0, Saints 4-1, Washington, Chicago, Carolina, and Seattle. A game, 2 games separating pretty much all of those teams right there in the standings with a whole lot of football still to play.
I absolutely agree. A whole lot of football to play, and frankly, you know, you look at it, the Saints, for them to do what they want to do, for them to go where they want to go, the road has to go through New Orleans. So to win a game like this weekend would be absolutely huge. They won 2 games on the road against 2 teams that they historically do not match up well against, but they also have to win to keep pace in the NFC South. I keep saying this. Have you seen the Carolina Panthers lately?
Right there.
They are playing unbelievable right now, so they are nipping at their heels. And oh, by the way, they play them twice in the final 3 weeks of the season. So the Saints have to win really to keep pace, not just in the NFC, but the NFC South.
I think what we're seeing also is the benefit of playing this gauntlet. When the schedule came out, you're looking at this, and man, if you don't start it well or if you don't take momentum into it, beating Washington before the bye, then this could be a really tough time where you lose 1 game and you might just get pounded the next couple. Well, on the flip side of that, when they win and they're on this streak going into this game, the biggest game in the league so far, this is what could propel the Saints. And look, the Rams have looked vulnerable, and you know, we talked about it in the office the other day. When you get to this part of the season, things have to start going your way and keep going your way in order to stay undefeated. And look, the Rams have looked a little bit more beatable the last couple of weeks, and certainly last week they caught a break with Ty Montgomery fumbling. And I think the way that the Saints are playing, they are taking it to teams. They are forcing the tempo. They are forcing the pace. We saw it in Baltimore. They are the aggressor, and I think if they do that in the Dome, they have a great chance to knock off the Rams from that undefeated perch.
I remember we were sitting on the set prior to them playing against Washington. We all said, if they could just win, like, go 3-2 during this stretch, you would consider that a success after the way they started the first 5 weeks. But now, I mean, why can't they win all these games? I mean, these are all winnable games, and the Saints are looking as good as anybody in the league right now.
That was about what I was going to point to. One of the best starts since 2013. I think the Saints are the hottest they've been all season long. Didn't give up a sack last week against the Vikings. Only given up 1 sack in the last 2 games.
Yeah, offensive line's been great.
And now the defensive line is starting to look solid. Davenport got 2 sacks last week. Sheldon Rankins got 2 sacks against the Vikings. Both lines are looking fantastic, giving good protection to Drew Brees. The Rams are hitting the Saints at the worst point for the Rams because the Saints are extremely dangerous.
But I will say this, what concerns me is what's been concerning all of us for the whole season long, their play at cornerback. You know, Marshawn Lattimore has really come on and played to the level he played last year, but you still don't have an answer on the opposite side. And we don't think P.J. Williams is the answer. They didn't make any moves during free agency, so you know those 3 guys there, Williams, Crawley, and Apple, have to be the answer at that side. They got to figure something out.
The most honest way, the cleanest way, the non-flukiest way to beat the Saints, the route is to go the route of the explosive play. Now, Saints gave up a few last week to Minnesota, but they recovered in the second half because their pass rush picked up. Also, I want to go back to a point you made, Chris, because I think back to 09. I remember that year vividly. The Saints kept winning, but right around this time, 8-0, 9-0, 10-0, those wins got harder and harder regardless of opponent because there's an external factor. There's the undefeated kind of streak kind of weighing on you a little bit. So the Saints might be catching them, as crazy as it sounds, at the right time.
One thing that stood out to me was, I think it was Taysom Hill who said it after the Ravens game, that they want to take the fight to opponents and not just go out there and play the game and see what happens and make it an even battle. No, you want to be the aggressor, and I truly believe that that is what the Saints have going for them right now, and that's what can propel them to victory.
Drew Brees had his lowest passing output last week in his career.
120 yards.
That shows you this team is not just Drew Brees. And they got so much more to offer with the running backs, Kamara and Ingram. They can kill you so many different ways on the offensive side.
And don't forget about Taysom. I never forget about Taysom. That's my guy.
He's a believer. That's my yellow flag. Let me throw a penalty on you. 15 yards, personal foul.
All right, we're going to have much more Saints and Rams matchup on tomorrow night's game plan at 10:35. Then on Thursday, Week 9 kicks off with the Raiders and Niners. Coverage on Fox 8 begins at 6:30. Coming up here on Overtime, it's Alabama versus LSU, but does that mean Nick Saban versus Ed Orgeron? We'll examine the role Coach O must play for the Tigers to be successful. And a bit later, the Pelicans' promising start has been minimized by the absence of Anthony Davis. Is this a sign of troubling times ahead? We'll discuss that as well.
Watching Fox 8 Overtime, sponsored by the 2018 Nissan Titan, backed by America's best limited truck warranty.
All right, welcome back into Overtime. Nick Saban hasn't lost to LSU since 2011, and it hasn't mattered where Ed Orgeron's been a head coach. He's never beaten a Saban-coached team. For LSU to beat Bama on Saturday night, will Coach O need to out-coach Coach Saban? Or is that necessary at all?
No, it's not necessary. You just got Ensminger is going to be more important to this right now because he's running the offense.
Okay.
And Joe Burrow, extremely dependent on running the ball and passing the ball, which LSU has not had in a long time. They have a guy that can do both. And on the defensive side of the ball, the biggest chess match of them all. LSU leads the nation in interceptions of 14. Guess how many interceptions Tua has thrown this year?
I'm going to say none.
You are correct, Juan. I've never
well, mainly because he hasn't played the second half hardly at all, if at all. I mean,
there you go.
They've been that dominant in the first half, and But this will be the best defense they faced all year long, and even without Devin White playing, and I think LSU still has a defense that can give Alabama some problems that no other team can give them or has given them so far. But I still think this is an uphill climb for the Tigers.
Back to the original point, though. Does O need to outcoach Saban? I think at some point in this game, the situation will require Orgeron to make a bold decision. And in that moment, he has to make it. I think he has to make a bold decision. We talked last break about the Saints taking the fight to their opponent. I think LSU has to take the fight to Alabama. You cannot stay conservative. Blitz. Throw deep sometimes. Maybe a fake punt. Fake field goal. Whatever, going forward on 4th down. There's going to come a situation where Orgeron's going to have to be bold. He has to take it.
Yeah, this is. Oh, what you say?
Is it me, Chris? But when Les Miles was coaching LSU, when they lost those games, there were so many people saying, "Well, Les Miles got outcoached by Nick Saban far too often." Is that you think that's an accurate statement?
Well, I think the way those teams were built, they played right into what Alabama did well. Alabama has always had a nasty front seven. They've had good corners in the secondary as well, but they've always been strong up there. And Les Miles was somewhat of a stubborn, I'm going to run it down your throat guy, and he could beat
you stack in the box.
And he could beat a lot of teams, even a lot of SEC teams, by running. First 3 quarters might net 90 yards. 4th quarter, busting runs all over the field. That doesn't happen against Alabama, and he never opened it up, nor did I think he had a coordinator creative enough and a quarterback that was safe enough to safely open it up. Now, that said, I do think Burrow has to take some risks. If Burrow throws an interception, I'm not hating it if they're taking risks, because like Sean said, they're going to have to be bold and they're going to have to take it to Alabama. This is a team that has the best offense that Nick Saban's ever had, because it's the best quarterback that Nick Saban's ever had, and you're not going to win this game if you're not scoring at least 28 to 30 points.
I think what's interesting, and I just thought about this, is that this is the first time LSU's going into this game without a premier running back that would lead the way. That Alabama would say, you know, we're going to stop this one guy we can beat LSU. They've got a bunch of guys that you didn't know much about last year that have been very effective with this team this year, and now you've got a quarterback to add to the mix that makes them more dangerous, which obviously is the bigger piece for LSU going against Bama.
And I absolutely love what Joe Burrow said earlier this week when he said, we are not scared of this game. If you're scared of this game, don't come out of the locker room. That is the kind of confidence at the quarterback position. Who was the last LSU quarterback to have that kind of confidence? I mean, Mettenberger had a little bit of it. But, I mean, Matt Flynn, maybe, in 07, Jamarcus Russell, but they have not had that kind of confidence. They didn't have it in Etling, they didn't have it in Jennings or Brandon Harris. To have that kind of confidence for this game, to me, that intangible is invaluable. And I love what he said coming out of the gate.
My concern is LSU receivers. They've dropped a lot of balls this year. If they don't catch balls in this game, they don't win the game.
And they got some shutdown corners on Alabama's team. I watched the Saban Raw press conference a little while ago before we came in here, and he just kept talking about how this offense is nothing like he's ever faced going against LSU. And that's why I think they have a chance in this game. I'm not going to give you a bold prediction of an upset here right at this moment, but it's going to be a close game. I really think it's going to be, this is the best chance I think LSU's had to beat Alabama in many years because of what they have on the offensive side of the ball.
I think LSU has to pull the right strings. When you talk about out-coaching a guy, you've got to feel the game out, and I think what Steve Ensminger has done really well is they've gone to the pass and opened things up when they had to, but I think some of his best calls have been when to run Burrow, when to run Brissett. That late drive in the Florida game is one that stands out when Brissett broke a bunch of runs. And I think at the core, you still have to be able to run the football.
Absolutely.
To be successful in any game against any team, they're going to have to be able to do that and can't leave Burrow back there to get killed. So he's going to have to pull the right strings and make the right calls.
You're right. All right, here's the rest of the college football schedule this weekend. It's a pretty busy weekend for Week 10. Nichols at Houston Baptist. Tulane, they're on the road at South Florida. Need 3 more wins to become bowl eligible. UL Lafayette versus Troy. Alabama, LSU, that's a 7 o'clock kickoff from Tiger Stadium. McNeese at Southeastern for a 7 o'clock kickoff in Strawberry Stadium. The Southern Jags, they will have the weekend off, a chance to rest a little bit. Coming up, Anthony Davis has watched his red-hot Pelicans drop 2 straight with the superstar nursing a right elbow strain. We'll make sense of the Pels as they get set to face the defending NBA champs next.
Fox 8 Overtime, sponsored by the 2018 Nissan Titan, backed by America's best limited truck warranty.
We're going to switch gears now on Overtime to talk about a little NBA. The Pelicans, the hype of a 4-0 start has been silenced after 2 straight losses without an injured Anthony Davis. Does this further prove just how vulnerable this team is without Davis in the lineup? We've always known how important he is with this team. are we seeing signs that he can't miss any games for this team to be successful?
Look, the Nuggets and Jazz are two teams that are going to match up well with the Pelicans, even with Anthony Davis. I'm not going to sit here and say they couldn't have beat, the Milwaukee Bucks on a random Tuesday. But look, he is Anthony Davis for a reason. If they want to go anywhere this season, he has to play the majority of the season because they need him for seeding, obviously. So I don't think we should overreact to the 2 losses, but they do have a couple of tough games heading up here with Golden State and Portland. So are they adrift without Anthony Davis? I don't know how to say that, but I do think he's got to get back sooner than later.
Yeah, it would certainly help for him to get back. I think they had some good stretches last night against the Nuggets without AD. Also worth noting, they were missing Elfrid Payton, the guy who had a triple-double in their first game, the guy who carried them offensively when they were a little bit slow in the first couple of games. And so I think that was also a big piece. But they should be able to at least beat the lesser teams, like Sean said, without AD. I think Niko Mirotic gives them a guy that can light it up from the outside when he gets hot and kind of carry them offensively. Certainly, if Drew Holiday is scoring, they should stand a chance against some of these teams. But more concerning to me is just how they're going to play on the second half of back-to-backs. Obviously, they were without AD against the Jazz, but they looked slow, especially when you get in the second and third quarter when the Jazz really took that lead. And then coming up this week, they've got Golden State on Wednesday. That's a team that likes to play with a lot of pace, could wear the Pelicans down a little bit, and then you've got to come back and face the Blazers, who can get red hot with their guards. It's going to be interesting to see how they guard the Warriors and the Pelicans that like to pride themselves on defense. And then can you take that same defensive intensity into a second straight night against two very active guards like Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum?
It's still early in the season. I think AD, they said the injury was minor. Even if they lose these next 2 games, go to 4-4, I think there's still a lot of basketball left. They'll figure it all out. Elfrid will get back in there. It's just too early, and they're playing quality competition. It would have been nice if they got to play some Cleveland Cavaliers and Suns in there, but this is the schedule they have. So it'll get back, and hopefully tomorrow night you'll see AD back in the lineup.
I was really encouraged about how they came from about 17 points down against Denver last night and made a game of it down too late in the game. My concern is less about AD being out right now. It's more about Elfrid Payton, because when Elfrid Payton's out, Drew Holiday has to play the point guard position, and he plays it well enough, but he's more effective when he's at number 2. And so I want to see Elfrid Payton back in the game, or give me somebody else off that bench that can play point guard and let Drew go back to that number 2 spot, because he's more effective as a basketball player and more dangerous from being at the number 2 than he is at the number 1.
And I think that's one thing they're still trying to figure out a little bit. Coach Gentry talked about it in those first couple of games. They're looking to get to that 9- and 10-man deep rotation. They've experimented with Solomon Hill bringing the ball up a little bit more. I say you start cutting down his minutes. Frank Jackson has looked not bad. I would love to see more of him, and especially, like you mentioned, another guard on the floor who doesn't take away what Ian Clark does and doesn't take Drew Holiday away from playing off the ball. I think Frank's a candidate to certainly step up with Elfrid Payton gone. Okay, coming up, playoffs are right around the corner in prep football. We'll preview a scintillating Week 10 showdown and each deliver a final say on the sports world. That's next.
By the 2018 Nissan Titan, backed by America's best limited truck warranty. You're watching Fox 8 Overtime, sponsored by the 2018 Nissan Titan, backed by America's best limited truck warranty.
Time to talk prep football. The final Friday of the regular season is upon us, and here's how the Fox 8 Big 8 rankings look. Edna Carr, Curtis, John Arrett, Terrebonne at number 4. Lakeshore, Destrehan, Slidell, and coming in at number 8 is Warren Easton. What a fantastic game we have coming up this week is our game of the week. It's going to be down in the River Parishes. Destrehan hosting Terrebonne. Garland, that's going to be one to watch.
It's undefeated Terrebonne, dynamic backfield with Ja'Kai Douglas, Chaz Ward,
Keyshawn James.
Yeah, Keyshawn James. Just too many weapons there.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's going to be a fantastic game. Night before, Easton Carr. The Big 8 rankings are going to totally change next week.
All right, Hanville quarterback. By the way, Andrew Robinson ruled eligible to play this afternoon after winning an arbitration case against the LHSAA. Will it be too little too late for the Tigers with him back in the lineup, Chris?
I don't know if it's too little too late. You know, this is a team that prepared to play with him and Jaquan Jackson out at wide receiver now in his natural position a little more. They were prepared to play with Robinson. I would not want to draw them if I'm a top seed because this is a team that's going to be very fired up to get their starting quarterback back.
Going to be interesting to see Friday night with him in the lineup. Time now for everyone's final say. Here's Sean leading us off.
All right, we know the story of Drew Brees and how he arrived here in New Orleans. By now, you know who played the biggest roles. Sean Payton, Mickey Loomis, Nick Saban, Dr. James Andrews. But what you may not know is there was one other person who played a key role in getting Brees to the Big Easy on Thursday night. We'll introduce you to that man and how his risky decision gave the Saints and their fans the biggest reward. Watch history-making call Thursday night after football. That's a tease for Thursday.
It's a great tease, Sean. My final say in the midst of what was a very active NFL trade market today is Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell, who is still a Steeler. What he's doing with this holdout this deep into the season is both unprecedented and it's kind of brilliant. Now, would I be saying that if I were a teammate of Bell's? Probably not, but executing a plan that doesn't seem to be hurting him much financially, if you don't mind losing a few million, in order to have your way and preserve your body while positioning yourself for a big free agent payout next year. It's pretty wild and entertaining. The Steelers wanted to trade him but couldn't because he hasn't reported or signed a deal, which he planned, which makes the next date to watch Week 11. He has to play at least 6 games this year for the season to count and to become an unrestricted free agent next year. Otherwise, he risks being franchise tagged again. It's insane, but it's also a lot of fun to watch this drama play out in Pittsburgh.
The most overused cliche from the coaches and players is it's just another game. Last week, Marcus Williams even uttered it with just another game before they played Minnesota. Well, I'm here to tell you that some games do mean more than others sometimes. That was obvious in the post-game locker room of the Saints. Williams received the game ball. He had 5 tackles and a pass breakup, a solid game, but not game ball worthy. Other players said they wanted to win the game for Williams after last year's Minnesota Miracle, so no, it wasn't just another game.
No, it was not. I'm also going to use my final say to talk Saints. And with free agency coming to a close today and the Saints doing absolutely nothing, I'm realizing that I'm okay with that. By standing pat, it tells me 2 things. One, that Sean Payton likes the makeup of his team right now, and he believes they have enough to win it all. It also tells me that Payton has faith in Dennis Allen's ability to get the most out of cornerbacks Eli Apple, P.J. Williams, and Ken Crawley. Of course, you guys know I'm a firm believer that when you have 2 quarterbacks, you really don't have any. But what about 3 cornerbacks vying to be the guy at one position? We know New Orleanians love a good 3-for-1 happy hour in the quarter. If the Saints can get production from these 3 guys, it will indeed lead to a very happy team and an extremely happy fan base going forward. Real quickly, 5 seconds from you guys. Do you like the Saints color rush jerseys?
I love them. Love the white and gold.
They're my favorite.
Love them. Best in the NFL.
All right. I'll give it another chance. Until next time, for all these guys next to me and everyone here at Fox 8, I'm Juan Kincaid. Thanks for watching. Our next newscast is at 4:30 in the morning. Have a great night.
This has been Fox 8 Overtime, sponsored by the 2018 Nissan Titan, backed by America's best limited truck warranty.